Hi, everybody. It's Christine Doan here. I want to introduce myself, first of all, because I'm the first investor in a project on the Etherton Tablelands next to Melanda, and we've called that our first pilot project between my Atherton team and People Purpose Place. It's up, it's running, it's fantastic. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. And now we're on to our second pilot project, which involves getting more affordable housing to the tablelands that not only is affordable, but looks great. Because I love the tablelands. You look at my rainforest behind me. I don't want to trash the tablelands up with a bunch more container houses that look like containers, with a bunch more buildings that look like they belong on a mining site. Well, what we're going to hear about right now looks like it was designed by an architect. And it not only has those qualities, but it meets Australian standards and it's cyclone rated. I'm not going to talk anymore about what I'm doing because what I want to do for you now is to introduce Sophia Marquina, who has helped me tremendously through the development application process. Without her, I couldn't have done it. It took a long time and it cost a lot of money, but I've gone ahead with that, and Sophia has helped me, I mean, unbelievably. And I also want to introduce Austin Guard, who is part of the import team for this project. And what they need to tell us is all the questions that I can't answer. I can talk endlessly about collaboration, communication, how to put a group together, how to make a share house livable, how to make a household into a homehold, we call it. But that isn't what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is how do we create community through more affordability and through making things look beautiful and still be affordable, and then we can work on the community aspect. So all my questions that I'm going to direct to Sophia and Austin are about finances and technicalities, of which there are a long list. So Austin, I think you're the one who knows everything about the cost of these houses and the cost to erect them. Could you please let us know about that?
Sure, but first I'd like to say here to everything that you just said about building for the community. So I think this affordable prefabricated modular building type is the way of the future to address those problems that the housing crisis, as we put it. Now, one of the components why this is successful is because of the pricing. So you asked the question about the pricing. So the pricing on the market at the moment is 99,500 as I call it the box of building parts. Now, this box of building parts includes all the prefabricated walls, floors, roof, also all that goes in between, okay, in all the way down to individual screws and bolts and nuts.
Wow.
So that is the cost of that box of building parts. Now everyone's always asking, okay, so what is it? How much does it really cost to put everything together?
Yes.
So look, I don't want to sound too condescending by saying, well, how long is a piece of string?
Yeah.
But in some elements that does apply because that does all the site works and so forth can only be determined on a site to site basis. Okay, so let's park that aside at the moment. We will just go to the parts that we do know and we do control and we have very good understanding of. Okay, so the box of building parts is fixed. That's the fee. Now there is a element of the transportation. Now, the container themselves that we need to house these box of building parts in are also supplied with the building parts, and that is typically our cost. Our price is 12,500 for the purchase of the containers. Now, what that is, the containers will house all the components and will get shipped to site. and that container protects all the components inside the container, and that allows all the owners or the builders or whatnot, the party that's carrying out works, the flexibility to carry out the works in a time frame, in a timeline that suits them, without incurring penalties from the shipping lines and so forth. That's a conscious decision why we did it, because usually you get 10 days to return the container if you don't purchase the container. So what that means is if it's raining for the 2 weeks that you receive the container, what are you going to do? You can't unload
What are
it.
you going to do?
What are you going to do? So that is why we set the formula up the way it is, so that it gives you that flexibility. Now, at the end of the build, you have an empty container. You can use it for storage. You can convert it into another little studio. You can use it. You can on-sell it. Many options. So that's the part for the supply. Now, what we do know of a footing system. So you do need to put these buildings onto a footing system, and we consciously designed it so that it doesn't need to sit on concrete slabs, because concrete slabs are not only expensive to build, it's also very expensive to set up the land to receive the concrete slab. Because what that means, you need to do what we call, if you have on a site that is not perfectly level, you would need to do what we call a cut and fill. That means you gotta excavate parts that are too high, and then you might take that material to fill bits that are too low to make a level surface for the concrete slab. Now, our design is designed to be built on what you can call a stilts, if you like, basically on footings that are raised out of the ground. And one particular company that we work with quite regularly, and very quick and very minimum disturbance to the land, which is, I think, addresses your point about trying to keep the environment as little touched as possible. Now, we use this system called Shorefoot. Now, Shorefoot system is essentially galvanized steel posts with piles that are driven down into the ground with jackhammer. So that means 1 to 2 people can work and install these 18 footings that's required to receive our unit in about 1 to 2 days. So depending on your site condition, soil type, and so forth. Correct.
Can I just interrupt briefly to say, so what you're doing is you're adding up all the extras that people are so suspicious of, because they say, well, this thing costs $120,000. What's that include? The transport, the footings, the this, the that.
Yes.
And I love the way you're breaking it down so that we know this step takes this step costs that. It's going to cost you on the tablelands a different cost than somebody in Sydney to get the thing transported. And you also on the tablelands, because you live in a monsoonal, very wet part of Australia, you have to make sure you have time to get the bits and pieces out of the container and erected without being rained on. Have I got that all
absolutely
so far? Okay,
correct.
So you go on to the next step,
absolutely
because
correct.
You're getting to
the
footings and then the
unfolding
transport.
the story one
No,
piece
that's
by
great.
piece.
I
Yes.
love the detail you're going into.
No
People
problem.
are keen to know this.
Yes. So I'm hopefully, like, through this they can understand we've thought through the entire process in detail, so that we can deliver this to our customers. Now, the Shorefoot system typically costs about $11,000 all up.
Yeah.
And that's the 18 footings installed and certified. That once you install those footings, your building is essentially ready to be installed onto these footings. Now, now to install the building onto these footings, and with the walls, roof, finishing, and so forth, we typically allow 3 to 4 weeks. So let's just say on a 4-week program with roughly about 3 people on average, plus some crane. We usually need a Franna crane for a couple of days to do the heavy lifting initially, because for example, the heaviest item that we have is a bathroom pot, which is about 3 tons. So that requires a bit of heavy lifting initially. Now, in, inclusive of all those costs, we're looking at about $40,000 to $50,000
Right.
for the assembly. So that essentially gets you to a building that's complete
Hmm.
with the electricals and plumbing already completed,
Built into it.
built into it.
Yeah.
Now there's a element of connecting the power and
Yeah.
the plumbing to the building. Now
Yes.
that part of it would be site specific because
Right.
some sites you'd be connecting 2
Because it
meters.
always is.
Exactly,
It
and
always is. That's
correct.
nothing
So
different. I mean,
that's
your
nothing different
building is
from a
not
stick
different
build
to
to this.
anything else. Doesn't matter if you're building a
Absolutely.
hut or a skyscraper, you
You
still have
still
to,
need to get the power
yeah.
water to the building.
Yeah. Water,
So
power, sewage. Yep.
so essentially that is pretty much all the parts that the
Right.
costs that go into putting this together as an isolated building in itself with on a footing. Now, you mentioned earlier, there is the transportation cost.
Yeah.
So our cost, box of building parts is a price from the port.
Right.
So it arrives at port at that value. Now, it depends on your site, how far you are from the port. As you mentioned earlier, you'd be more expensive to get to the tablelands if you just going to, I don't know, Townsville or somewhere that's close to port. So that part of the journey, we typically we have that quoted through our own transportation companies, or sometimes a customer have their own people that they want to rely on, and sometimes some people they have a truck themselves, and they're happy to come pick it up themselves as well. So
Not
that
me. I've only got a horse float. It's not going to work.
right. So that is essentially all the costs that go into the installation of the building. So yeah, I think that comes to look. I think on average, when we factor into general costs and on averages of the electrical and plumbing connections on site, we're typically seeing about 180,000 to, some sites can go up to 250, but that's the high end. So it's that sort of range.
To have a complete building, two
Yes,
bedroom, one
everything
bath,
complete.
kitchen, lounge room together,
Correct.
and no veranda, but a lovely facade to put a veranda on. That would be
Correct.
extra cost. We probably
Correct.
need that here because
Yes. Yes.
it rains here.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
So,
I will have a veranda added to mine, but
correct.
that seems to me to be a very lowball figure, and
Mm,
I would be looking more at the top range of that simply
mm.
because we don't know about holdups and delay in weather.
Yes.
We are unsure of the cost of shipment because
Mm,
we have to get it from the coast, from Townsville, where it will be landed, up
yes.
the Palmerston Highway, which is
Yes.
twisty turny, and depending on how big this container is, how big
Mm.
is the container?
40-foot high cube.
40 cube, 40 foot.
40,
Yeah.
40-foot high. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
yeah.
high,
Yeah.
right?
It's high. Correct.
Yeah, so I don't even know if that can come up the Palmerston Highway without a
Mm,
traffic guide and all those extra
mm, mm.
costs. We'll find that out, but we'd love to have your quote, and I will put that out. There will be information that goes with
Sure.
this video,
Mm,
and we'll put out the local contacts as well as your contacts
mm.
because Austin, people are going to want to talk to you and Sophia about their personal situation.
Absolutely. And we do that on a daily basis. Sophia
I see
I,
that.
is wonderful, Sophia, and also we
Wonderful.
have Renee in our office. They they
Right.
they are always busy on the phones in the office
Yeah.
solving these problems, and we do get a lot of them. And look, one thing
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you mention about transportation, because the product needs to be delivered to the site. Now,
Yes.
access is very important. Now, the
Yes.
good thing about our product is it's a standard load and not a wide load. So normally
Right.
a lot, and that's also a conscious decision when we were designing the product. Now there are other prefabricated solutions where they'll prefabricate in the factory and then take it to site. Now there are many situations where they would require a wide load,
Yeah.
where it means you need to have escort vehicles and so forth. Sometimes you can only transport them at night, that sort of thing. And that means pushing up the cost.
Yes.
And sometimes it means that it cannot be delivered to site simply because the
Too
road
far.
network, correct, the
Yeah.
road network
Yeah.
doesn't allow
And
you.
we have that
Yeah.
situation here where
Mm,
the Palmerston Highway, although it has been upgraded considerably since I first
mm,
came here in 1970,
mm,
it is very twisty and turny. It's
mm.
quite steep in places, and
Yes.
some larger loads just cannot be transported up it.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
So I'm confident in that because like I said, our load is a standard
yeah, nice.
um, container load. So it doesn't need escorts, doesn't need additional road permits. So that
Excellent.
that hopefully, when the time comes, let's get that price to you, and we can discuss further on that
Great.
point. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Well, that
Mm,
takes care of a lot of the finances.
mm,
Uh, we do have a builder who's very keen to use this as his first building that he starts out and erects, because it's not so much building. He's a builder, but it's not
mm,
so much building as erecting, like it's a Lego house or something, or
mm,
an IKEA shelf arrangement.
mm.
Don't lose the Allen key. And I mind you, I've never built an IKEA anything, so I wouldn't know. But
In this case, we call it an M16 bolts.
right, well,
It,
you call it that. We call it the flat pack house. But we really want to differentiate it from other flat pack houses and from what you've just been talking about, which are other houses which are wider or small or more narrow, that are chopped in half and put on two lorries and brought up, or taken out to mining camps. This is quite an attractive building. It's at a very attractive price, but one of the things that is so important about the price and the building is that it comes up to Australian building standards, so it's legal to build in Australia and to insure, but it also is cyclone rated. We cannot live without a cyclone rated house up here, because if you buy one of, and there are plenty of them around, for $40,000, you can buy another little flat pack house.
Mm,
It looks cute, but it might just turn into wet uh, kitchen toweling once it gets rained on. And
mm,
if a cyclone comes along and one of the building parts happens to decapitate someone or even their dog, you can't be insured.
mm.
So I was totally, I mean, I've watched these things developing for decades, and I was just so thrilled when I was told that this was available and cyclone rateable. And I think that's really important to all of us on the tablelands. I just wanted to emphasize that point. But this builder that I have, who's going to erect the first one, he can make all the mistakes on mine, and everybody else will have the benefit of his experience, because I can imagine that this is not easy to put together. And with experience, you can do it more efficiently with a smaller team in a quicker amount of time. Would that be right?
Well, number one, let's hope your builder doesn't make too many mistakes. Now, but then I can,
When has that ever happened? When, I mean, really, Austin, when have you ever gotten through a day where you never made a mistake?
sure, not never
Never,
made a
never.
mistake. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there are
Yeah,
big
there's
mistakes.
always,
There
yeah,
are forgivable mistakes. There
yes,
are unconscious mistakes. There are mistakes of inexperience.
yes,
We expect all of that to happen because we'd be fools not to.
absolutely. So look, I think you definitely that's the realistic approach
Yes.
to all building sites. But my response to your earlier comment about whether
Yeah.
this is going to be a difficult build. So we've now completed a fair amount of them,
Yeah.
and from from what we could see,
Yeah.
anyone with a carpentry background who has
Yeah.
had experience in putting a stick built house together, there's nothing new here.
Is that
So
right?
yeah, so the way we build this, there are no proprietary parts that are not available anywhere else.
Right.
The way we design this is that everything that comes in this box is basically elements that you can find in your local Bunnings. Okay.
So what you're saying is that if we lose six screws, we're not
You-
screwed
That's
because we don't have to send emergency messages off to the producer, to the
yes.
factory.
Yeah.
We can
And
just
wait
nip
3 months
down
for it. No,
and we
no,
just
not at
nip
all.
down to Bunnings and
Nip
say,
down
we
to
want this.
Bunnings.
Right.
So one of the
Excellent.
highest, so there's two highest orders of importance when we were designing this in our
Yep.
minds, right? One is obviously the cyclone rating because we
Yes.
intend to sell this product to all over Australia. And we
Yes.
feel that cyclone C3 rating is what this is rated for.
Yes.
Is look, there are areas where you do require higher rating,
Yeah.
but to achieve that, it becomes much more costly
Yes.
and probably not realistic to service the entire Australian continent
Right.
as a whole.
As a whole.
Um, we can do that as a separate bespoke build, but I think C3 was that sweet spot that we designed for.
Achievable.
Not achievable, correct,
Mm.
and cost efficiency for
And
everyone.
cost efficient. Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Now, the second item that we had in our design books is that everything here in this box must be available from the local Bunnings
Beautiful.
because we know that this is not just a one-off product. There will require people will require maintaining the building over time.
Of course.
You would, like you said, if you for some
Lose the
reason
screws.
the dog took the box of screws somewhere and then you couldn't find it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you want to be able to purchase those items locally very quickly because when you're on a build, who wants to wait for 3 months for the screws to come back, right?
Okay.
So that's why it was conscious design decision that we designed every bit and item in this building to be of traditional standard construction components, building components. So that goes for the bolts, that goes for the steel stud walls, that goes for the hot rolled steel beams, and so forth. Okay, and including all the hardware. The hardware are interchangeable. You can go to local Bunnings and buy a new one if
Great.
for whatever reason. Okay, so that was the design methodology. So that's why I'm saying I'm confident in saying that any builder who's had experience in building a standard stick build can build this without too much of an issue. Now, the good thing about this is assembled in parts. So that means you really you take down the total amount of time to build a house of this size to a much lesser time frame, as we quote, 3 to 4 weeks generally. So yeah, I mean that was the design methodology that we adopted.
Well, I love that methodology
Mm,
because it is a big concern for us. We're at the end of the supply chain. So
mm,
not only do we have to get things from overseas,
mm.
we have to get them from Brisbane to here.
Yeah,
Normally.
yes.
Now, this one arrives in Townsville, but we still have to get it from Townsville to here, which
Mm,
is because of the road system and the difficulty of the terrain, quite
that's
a
right.
trick. But we're also, I have people pestering me all the time now about, and I do want to say, thank you very much for offering me a commission. As Sophia will have told you, I refused a commission. I have no pecuniary interest in any of this. I don't
Mm,
own anything about it. I'm not part of the company that imports this. I'm not part of the producers. I'm not getting a commission. I just think it's really important for us tablelanders and for many people in rural and remote parts of Australia to be able to buy an affordable house that is built to Australian or to your local standards.
mm,
So I really want to make that clear that this costing has nothing to do with me.
mm,
I'm just really thrilled that we found a product like yours. Now, I'm also asked quite a few technical questions. You've answered some of them, but some of them are also about getting a development application, which Sophia was so patient and kind to help me with. But, there are things like you've talked about the building technicalities, but there may be other official technicalities or something more that you have to add. We certainly do need to hear about the development application and how that works for you. Because I know how it worked for me.
Mm,
It was supposedly a self-accessible building, but if you'd like my opinion on what self-accessible means at this point, it means you go out and find 8 to 12 consultants, start at $1,000 a piece and go up.
mm,
And once you've had all those consultants agree that this is a suitable house to build on the tablelands in the Tableland Regional Council area, well, thank you. You've spent $20,000 getting a development application. Now,
mm.
the next person may have a different site. I will have already achieved my development approval. So it's always easier the second time around, isn't it? But there are still costs that are associated with this. And, that whole development approval part of it, could you speak a little more about that? Or do you want to toss that to Sophia?
Sure.
Because it was Sophia who did help me with it, and she was wonderful.
Sure. I'll give that to Sophia. But before I
Yeah.
give that to Sophia, I just want to add that because we're architects by trade and we've been operating for over 2 decades, and we're based in Sydney or we do projects all across Australia. Now, because we are in the trade, we know how difficult it is to navigate through all these development
Yes.
applications and planning. And that was also one of the critical factors that made us go down this journey of creating this product. Now,
Right.
the beauty of this product is because it's repeatable.
Yes.
It's an item that is of known quantity,
Yes.
and we can work with like-minded consultants, like certifiers, maybe
Gotcha.
stormwater engineers, and so forth, who are familiar with the product. So the trouble with a lot of these applications is that every time you do a new building, you send it to these consultants, they're seeing something for the first time.
Yeah.
So naturally, they need to spend the time. So you're absolutely right about these consultant fees and so forth for all these applications. And that part of that is because they're seeing it for the first time. For every time they're seeing a new job, so they just need to spend the time to understand it before they can actually comment or provide advice or approve it eventually. Now, our product, because it's repeatable, all our consultants know the product. So, for example,
Right.
one of the projects that we did the other day, the we sent it to the certifier, and the certifiers go, "Oh, all right, it's one of those again." I say, "Yeah, no problem." Okay, what
Right.
about the documents? We said, "Oh, the same. It's basically the same documents. We just did the updated with a few things to suit this particular site, but all the other things that we've done can be repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat." Right. So
Wash,
for
rinse,
them,
repeat. Great.
they look at it and they say, well, it's a known quantity. I've approved this in the past. There's low risk for me now because
Right.
I've already looked at it so many times in the past and I'm re-looking at it again. So I
Yeah.
can really drop the number of hours I need to spend on this because I've seen it so many times and it's the same thing.
And the
So that's how
liability, the risk has been lowered
correct
for the
has been reduced.
certifier.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
that's how they can
beautiful.
charge a lower fee, and that's how we can keep all the costs down. Now, okay, look, that's our, that was what caused us to move off to this
Gotcha.
modular construction. But yeah, I'll move it to Sophia to explain to you about the planning and certification of this product.
Yeah, so just to addition to what Austin said, I think Lodge was created with all consideration of all plane. For example, like size of 60 square meters. It's not just some random size. It's standard size. In some states, it's maximum size available that can be built as secondary dwelling. For example, in New South Wales,
Granny flat.
you cannot build more than 60 square meters. In some states, it's now bigger, but because we try to create a standard product, uh, that's the optimal size.
Right.
And yeah, for certification and approval pathway, as Austin said about site specific costs, I would say that every site is different in
Yes.
like for approvals because Some sites are very straightforward, like you look at them and they only need soil test, which is like under $1,000.
Yes.
And with only soil test, they're ready to go. So they don't need any additional investigations. Some
Whereas,
sites,
excuse me, whereas mine, for example, was quite complicated, wasn't it?
yes,
Yes.
so you were less fortunate. You had um, tree protection zone, you had bushfire. Bushfire is pretty popular thing in it's a big overlay which
Yeah.
affects. But still, with some site investigation, we were able to make your application as self-assessed. In some cases, there are no way to do it. So
Ah,
we have to go to council and submit application. I would say that in Queensland, it's easier. It's more straightforward process, while in other states, for example, Tasmania is the hardest state to get development application, I would say. Um, yes, so but there are also sites which you cannot build though. Like I had couple sites when we did preliminary investigation of what we can build there, and we talked to council and said, "Oh, you cannot build it under like legislation. You just cannot build anything there because it's some landslide hazard or
right.
there is scalar habitat. So
Right.
basically, you own the land, but you cannot
You
build
can't
there."
build. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very site specific. We always recommend to do some we do offer desktop review, like investigation of site and providing a report before you make any decision. So before
Right.
you buy the lodge or buy our services as getting this building approval, just to see if like what's gonna be the pathway.
Yeah.
Just to know before you start how much money you will need, even if it's possible or not. So we
Yes.
always recommend to do this report before doing something else.
So, Sophia, do you will you help anybody who wants a development application for this the way you help me? Because you put a lot of time and effort into my project, I must say, and a lot of patience.
Yeah, it's like we also have Renee in our office, who is also very patient, and also she's a planner by education. So
Right.
she's doing a big part of application as well.
Great. So the help that I got is part of the cost of buying the house. You will help anybody who needs help with their application. Have I got that right?
Yes.
Wow. Well, it's good service because you did spend a lot of time on me, and I can't thank you enough for it. So that's a great wrap of what's needed. What are the final points that either one of you would like to make to have this introduction to this particular home called the Lodge and looking very lovely, as well as being quite inexpensive to build? What other points would you like to make? Now, we can jump back on and do another one of these recordings when we get more questions and more feedback, but what other points would you like to make right now?
Sophia, you or
You
So
might.
I would just say that because I work a lot with customers and potential customers and social media, a lot of people are asking, where is the, I don't know, where is the wardrobe? Why is the kitchen so small? Why
Yeah.
there is no kitchen island?
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for us to say that we try to make Lodge as generic as possible. For
Yes.
example, like I have a lot of clothes. I need a wardrobe. My husband has, I don't know, three shorts, five t-shirts. He doesn't need a wardrobe, and there is no
No.
reason for him to install a wardrobe to the lodge. He would prefer build, I don't know, like gaming table. So because we received a lot of questions like this, I would like to say that um it's very generic design, and how will it work for a particular person is up to particular person. And there are a lot of like, for example, kitchen joinery is made the way that you can easily build a stove on and oven on or exhaust fan on.
Right.
And there is enough space for wardrobe in both bedrooms. So yeah, that's what I think is very important to say.
I think that's a really important point, Sophia. Thank you for making it because indeed we have quite a different situation here in far north Queensland. It rains a lot. Where
Mm.
else in Australia does it rain a lot? The Territory, and that's it. And so one of the things that I've found living here since 1970 is that you're crazy to have a built-in wardrobe because it just everything mildews or molds. And so everything is the way I organize myself, and I did have mold illness, so I have to be very aware of humidity
Mhm.
levels and I have to keep the air quality and the humidity very standard. With a smaller building, I can do that. With this great big house that I've lived in for 50 years, I can't do it. So my health requires me to retire to a modified container in the evening because that's where I can keep the air quality and the humidity organized.
Mm. Right.
But I would also say that the easiest way to keep your clothes from molding horribly on the tablelands is to use one of those wire arrangements and have nothing closed in. Now, that doesn't suit everybody, but the price is going to suit so many people that they are going to just have to
Absolutely.
figure out, do they want an antique wardrobe? Put it there. Do they want a little tiny office? Put it there. Do they want a gaming table? Whatever that is. I've never done a video game. I'm old. But what do you want? What extras do you want? Or in a place like this where you basically could cook outside every day of the year as long as you had something to keep the rain off. Well, do you really want to have a fancy kitchen, or would you rather have a beautiful veranda where you've got a some kind of barbecuing situation or outdoor
Mm.
cooking arrangement? That's our lifestyle. And so why wouldn't you take advantage of that? And why would you, as the promoter of as the importer of this, why would you design a building that suits southeastern New South Wales or perhaps Perth, but doesn't suit the tablelands? And so I'm in total agreement with the way that you've stripped this right down to keep the cost down, keep the
That's right.
standardization absolutely at maximum.
Mm.
And if you don't like the standard product, well, talk to one of these two wonderful people and they may be able to help you with a special version. So Austin,
Yes.
what's your final word on all this?
My final word would be, I think the concept of modular building isn't new.
No.
It sort of got forgotten for some time.
Yeah.
And now, because of the delivery pressures for housing is upon us, now everybody's talking about it. So, and it's a lot of people, I think, if they haven't been researching the construction industry, they might think, oh, wow, this modular building and all this prefab stuff, is that all this new stuff that's coming out? Is that, can we trust it? Is it safe? And, what's all happening? This concept isn't new. So I just want to say this concept isn't new. It's been around for decades. And in fact, by building these components in the factory, you're much more precise and you're able to quality control.
Yeah.
Think about it. Imagine quality control outdoors with a lot of flies in your face and mosquitoes biting you, looking at whatever you got to do versus you're in a controlled environment inside a warehouse in a factory floor where there's no rain, there's all the insects are out of the space, and you're able to quality control everything that you do, and you have all the equipment there that you need to deliver these building components. So my final thoughts is that no, to answer those questions when people say, "Oh, this is new. Is this all going to be, the quality is going to be good?" Is that I say, well, if it's either the same as what you're used to or better,
Right.
that's basically how we sing, and that's the kind of response we're getting from the customers, because they look at it and say, "Actually, I'm spending this money. If I spend the same amount of money with this stick build, I'm actually getting an inferior product." And
Right.
yeah, because just the fact that we're able to order and procure, I think one of your earlier questions was about procurement,
Yeah.
because we're able to procure these components in by volume. Like for example, the double glazing for all the window components and sliding and door components in our building. And also the low E glass, we have the film that sort of filter out the hot radiation from the sun, and it suits the far north Queensland.
Mhm.
That was all done in consultation with our basic consultant and carried out in our factory. And because we're building many of them, we were able to negotiate the prices of these windows and components down to a much lower level. So if you were for example, I mean, I had a builder from Rockhampton tell me the other day, just the windows themselves, if you're going to buy them locally, it's more than $20,000. So, that's a sort of saving that you're really getting. So anyway, so I think, my message would be, we need to embrace prefabrication and modularization if we are serious about addressing this housing crisis that we have. So I think, yeah, it's the way of the future, but that came from the past.
Yes, and isn't it interesting?
Yes.
I'm so glad that you both answered that final question so
Mm,
beautifully, because we really have got a pretty complete picture now
mm,
about at least the big picture of why this is designed the way it is, why
mm,
it's as standardized as it is, why it costs as little as it does, why people can learn how to build it, how they can get some help getting a development application. All these questions are being hammered at me just because I've got got there first with my development approval in the far north. No,
mm.
there is one on in Babinda, actually. It's already been
Yes,
built by one of the
correct.
people who sells these
Yes.
in Caravanica. And there is a completely assembled lodge in Caravanica. Anybody on the tablelands going to Cairns, and we all have to go to Cairns, even if it's only to see a specialist doctor, in Caravanica, you can go and walk into this completed lodge in a big shed and have a look. And I encourage you to do so. The details of the people to contact for having a look, but they're open 7 days a week, and you can just walk in and say, "Show me the lodge," and
Mm,
they will take you straight there. But what I want to do right now, and we will have a talk, another Zoom talk with the people who are selling these in our locality, which is far north Queensland.
mm.
But I'm just so grateful to the two of you, Sophia and Austin, for coming from your main office where you're doing the importing and where you've done all the conceptual work for how to put this together and make it work for almost all Australians. And I'm so grateful to you for your time and effort to come along and answer my questions. And I'm sure I'm going to have so much feedback from this that you'll have to come back on again. Would you be willing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to.
sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much for your time today as
Well,
well.
thank you. And I really can't wait to get started on the next Zoom call. Thanks again for turning up. Austin, thank you. Sophia, thank you. And
Thank
we
you.
will catch up with you soon.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
So I will.